A word for our listeners. Masks of Nyarlathotep is set in the 1920s. We will be using terms and sayings from those times, including some that could be considered offensive. It is not our intention to offend. We merely wish to offer as accurate a view of the time period as possible. Welcome to the Nerds Domain presents Masks of Nyarlathotep. Join us each week as our investigators follow a path of clues and attempt to save the world from an ancient evil. Starring John Quiett, Jestin Kimmet, Shirley Niedzwiecki, George Chimples, Jason Hall, and Scott Troiano, with Matt Quiett running the table as keeper. Eldritch evils and crazed cultists await you just beyond this music.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Masks of Nyarlathotep. I'm Matt, and I'm here with Shirley.
Hello.
Jason.
Hello.
George.
Hi.
Scott.
Hi.
Johnny.
Hi.
Justin.
Hi.
And we have just sacked another apartment and wiped the drinks. So let's get into your guys' next plans. Next morning is now March 16th. You only have 9 months.
Wait, I thought,
January 16th, 1925.
I know, but I thought we just were on the 16th and 17th.
Okay, you have less than 9 months.
Dude.
I'm good with that. The official full moon is on the 25th. And by the way, listeners, this may not match up with what was before. I'm doing it to suit my purposes now. So,
Let's check out the consulate, guys.
you guys headed to the consulate?
Yeah.
All right, you guys hit the consulate.
Should we say
British
that?
citizen, I'm going to let you do the talking.
Should we say that we found this and are trying to return it to its rightful owner? I do not think it would be wise to say we killed this man and left him in a ditch and burned his body.
No. My thought was to do it this way. I was aware before we left England. I was made aware of Mr. Gavigan's passing while we were still in the UK.
Mm.
However, we have come across these passports, and this gentleman was found dead. And I was going to return this to the consulate and see if they knew anything about him.
Dead where? We don't want to answer that question.
Well, that's a good point. How did we come about these passports?
There was a dead camel on the road, and we went to look, and there's signs of a struggle. We feared that it might be banditry. We found this, some scattered, torn items of clothing, and nothing else.
Why are we reporting this to the police?
Oh, because we would go to the consulate first. We wouldn't go directly to the police.
Because you're Europeans and you report to European authorities.
Yes.
Okay, sounds legit.
Okay, so we go into the consulate.
Okay, so you head in.
Find the girl at the desk.
Yeah, the gentleman at the desk, whatever it does. So you get in. You're kind of brought into an office. So told you found a passport.
Yes. We were driving. Saw a camel by the side of the road. It appeared slightly injured. There were torn clothing on it. We looked. Found the passport of this man, Edward Gavigan, and this man, I don't know. The problem that brought this to our attention, we would have gone directly to regular authorities. However, I happen to know my father's in the House of Lords and was made aware before we left the British Islands that Mr. Edward Gavigan was deceased prior to our leaving. However, his passport was found outside of the city.
I
Do you know anything about this?
to look into that, but I checking our records when we brought up the name, I had this pulled. This is only make more sense this way. Edward Gavigan came into the country 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. 4 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks prior to your arrival, and you guys rested for 2 weeks. So 4 weeks ago.
Interesting.
Is the Arab gentleman's passport properly stamped from Britain?
He's actually a British citizen. He is of Arab descent. But yeah, it's all it's not stamped at all. No, it's strange. So if I had to posit, it may be that Edward Gavigan stole his passport. Is what it seems like. But without any other clues or evidence can you point? Can you give us an idea of where in the desert you found this camel?
Which I sometimes give. What was the city area, the dig area?
You guys give him some bold directions to nothing, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. Or as close to that hurt camel that you guys left out there as possible. That's fine. I will send some of our military investigators out there. It normally would fall within the Egyptian, but as it being the situation it is, I think that best we look into this. So I will send some of them out immediately.
I would love any word of if you find either of those two gentlemen that they British citizens. I'd love to know that they were okay.
Absolutely. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Is there anything else we need?
What about the man's profession? Al-Said.
Yes.
I don't have that information here. Without him being stamped in, I don't have a file on him. I can contact the home and get the information from them.
Right. Any information that might help us find to see if these two gentlemen are doing well would be appreciated.
Absolutely. That's all. I will get started. Thank you.
Thank you.
He goes back to doing what he's
And
doing.
we're at this hotel. You can.
Absolutely. Okay. So where to now?
You're shaking your head. What?
You keep giving your information to people and they keep rifling through your hotel room.
Not in this country, they haven't.
Not yet.
Oh,
That
then
you
I'm
know
all-
of.
Oh no.
These guys are cleaner. No. So
I guarantee the cult is aware of us
should we-
now.
just as a couple of suggestions, you were going to go out. I forget what farther for. You guys went to all the pyramid sites.
Yep.
We were going down.
I'm in the wrong chapter. That's no good. No wonder I can't find the information I need. There we go. So you guys went all the way down to the places. So the Sphinx. There's mention that there was this thing at the Sphinx. I checked that out.
I guess I was thinking the Black Sphinx that comes up out of the sand. Near the actual statue of the Sphinx.
Yes. She's saying general area.
So the statue might come alive.
Nice.
Probably not during the day.
Probably not. And it's only got one head. So
You could also
it's something.
check with local newspapers and newsmen. They usually have leads that you don't normally have, that kind of stuff.
Quick question aside from this that I wanted to ask the group. Is it, and this would be done in an in-character conversation that we just kind of breeze through. So is it our understanding that this Al-Said, Gavigan died in fact, and Al-Said took over his persona and personality and everything like that. After Gavigan died, he came here, and that's who we actually killed. That's what the deal is. I'm sure that's what people are thinking.
I thought we
Not
killed
sure.
him in England,
That's a
and then he took over his visage and came to Egypt.
That's a possibility, or else he switched visit. He left. Maybe they switched.
He had to have left afterwards by the time.
Right. The stamping of the
Right.
passport
So, yeah,
to get
we
in
had
to
to go
arrive
back
was
with that.
Gavigan.
Yeah,
That was after we killed him.
So what I'm saying is Gavigan died. We killed Gavigan. This guy came, grabbed Gavigan's passport, transformed into Gavigan, then came here.
Yeah.
Is that what people are thinking?
Yes,
Yes.
he was most likely at Gavin when he killed him.
Yes.
And then he was like, okay, well, this place is I'm out of here.
Okay.
And he came to Egypt.
Report back to the home office.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So,
We can go to El Said's house.
Well, he was staying at Gavigan's.
Yeah.
Learn all sorts of cool spells.
So there are two I've given you. You could go check out the Sphinx. You could go through the newsman. You can also go check out Omar Shakti. You know that he's associated with the Brotherhood, but he's also a landowner and kind of important. Your last thing is you could go talk to the museum about the Carlisle expedition or anything like that. You didn't really mention that. You went to do other stuff. So.
Yeah.
Also, bringing up the Carlisle expedition while you're by yourself, kind of not a great idea. So.
What?
I agree.
You remember what happened to Byrne?
I'm interested in checking out the Sphinx.
Well, before we head out, the Sphinx would be what, like a day's drive?
No, it's a couple hours. It's actually
We have deep now.
it's true.
Well, there's several days before any action happens out there.
Right. The Giza pyramids where the Sphinx is at is actually closer than Memphis, where you guys were at last night, killing people. I mean,
Yeah.
having nice chats.
I don't know. Let's do some in-town stuff first, and then go.
So museum or news guy.
Landowner.
He would be kind of technically outside of town, but you can definitely do that. He'd still be close.
Let's do newsman.
So you guys head to the Cairo.
Cairo Planet.
Gazette. Yeah,
Daily Cairo Gazette Planet.
the Cairo Planet.
It's the Cairo Bulletin.
Aww.
It's not even a
It's
newspaper.
a English language weekly owned by Anglophile journalist Nigel Wasif. So he reported quite a bit on the Carlisle expedition, so that's a good bunch of information. So you guys head there and talk to him. So you arrive and ask to talk to Nigel, and you're kind of brought in. And they're newsmen; they're always looking for more stories. So, what can I do for you, folks, gentlemen, ma'am?
We have a visiting scholar here who's interested in the Carlisle expedition.
Oh yes, the Carlisle. Some years ago. Yes, what about the Carlisle expedition?
Oh, well, where did they go around time? What was it?
They were here for some months. They supposedly were digging at the Bent Pyramid, but something strange happened there, and they lost all of their workers. Left one of the women named Hypatia Masters fell ill, and it was too hot here, so they headed to Virginia, where they were going to summer and then come back. But as I'm sure, hopefully have heard, unfortunately have heard, their expedition was attacked by some terrible tribe there, and they never returned.
Before they left, did you notice them acting any differently, or?
I haven't. I got some photos. Let me pull some of those out. And he kind of goes and leaves for a little bit and pulls out some stuff. It shows you a photo showing Sir Aubrey, Roger Carlyle, Hypatia Masters, and Dr. Huston emerging from dinner at their honor at the Turf Club 2 days after their arrival. They all look young or properly healthy and all those things. There's a man in the very background in a tight tuxedo that looks like it might be Jack Brady, but he's not. Brass Brady, but he's not identified in the picture. There's lots of society stuff. They were kind of hamming it up while they were here. Then they went to survey about the Third Dynasty. After investigations near Giza, they shifted their work to the Dashur site. In 1919, they decided to go to Mombasa to go on holiday. It's not just Miss Hypatia Masters that was sick, but also Roger Carlyle was supposed to be sick as well during that time. There's several photos with Hypatia Masters with their camera taking pictures of stuff. If someone can give me a spot hidden at half their normal.
I got it.
One of the pictures shows actually a calendar in the background showing May. These were all printed in July, so there's a time discrepancy. Are you going to point that out?
I will definitely point that out.
He explains, well, it's been 5 years. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I'm sure that we were reporting the proper news at the proper time. Nothing strange was happening then.
Psychology.
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
Who passed? He's hiding something. probably the fact that sometimes newspapermen just print old photos to keep a news story going.
I moved close to him.
Okay.
Look,
Well, you're a Chinaman, so that's not really out of the normal. You may not understand personal boundaries.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
my shoulders are kind of rising.
Oh.
Looming.
He kind of ignores that, but is aware of it. And then he mentions that the Carlisle expedition was terrible, allowing anyone at their dig sites, not press, not anyone. So it was very difficult to get any more shots of that area. He does recall several times they had dinner with Omar Shakti. That was a regular thing. He's a wealthy cotton plantation owner and so on and so forth.
Any photos of that man?
No. He doesn't. He's not in the high society very often. He does things privately. Incidentally, though, another Pinhu Foundation is currently in Egypt, the Clive expedition. They're excavating at Memphis. And they recently unearthed a mummy of an unknown female from a secret chamber, and it's been speculated that it was Queen Nitocris. But before anything could be really found out, the body was stolen. It's strange. So,
Who would steal such a thing?
Yeah.
grave robbers, those that think that there were riches within the body. So now there's some question as to what happened.
Wait, does he actually go to?
Oh, that would be awesome. But
No, because I wonder if he'd be aware that.
no.
I was gonna be like, really?
So I mean that's about as much as I really know about the Carlisle expedition, or rather, that's what I remember. It's been
Do you remember
5 years.
what sort of illness was it? Malaria.
Have you been here in the summer? It gets very warm, and the Nile tends to flood, and that makes the air very unpalatable to some Europeans.
My question is it an issue of constitution or an issue of infection?
I'm not aware. His doctor was with him, so it may have been a mental imbalance.
Where was he seen?
Where was Susie?
The gentleman.
Carlisle?
He said he was ill.
Yeah, it was
He was seen
reported
by
that
his
was.
doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Huston came with him from America. It was a psychologist.
For sure.
Now you know of him, I'm
Okay.
sure by now. He's more of a celebrity psychologist in New York.
Okay. So it's not somebody that practiced at the hospital.
Any other questions, guys?
Any idea rolls that we should make to see if we should ask anything?
Well, I was going to ask what he knows about the Clive expedition as far as who was a member of it,
Oh,
when they get here.
Clive expedition. They've
What are
been
they
here.
doing now?
Well, they're still digging. So there's Dr. Clive, Dr. Henry Clive. He's the head of it. He's an archaeologist.
Excuse me, the what?
The head.
Time make a roll.
He's an archaeologist of some note from England.
Okay.
There's
Like
Martin.
from Oxford or something.
No, not that well known. Some secondary, not as cool college as Oxford.
Cambridge.
Sure.
Manchester United local. Gotcha.
Then there's Martin Winfield, young man, also an archaeologist, but younger and still kind of learning. They had Agatha Broadmoor, who they believe is a psychic, to help them find the right place to dig. James Gardner, also an archaeologist of lesser note, but still someone of note. And then Johann Spreck, archaeologist and mystic from Germany. Although, where's that information?
Mentally, I'm like, cultist.
Although
shooting their boss.
a member of the dig was recently released. Jan Willem von Hevelen, wow, these are terrible names, was fired by Dr. Clive for alleged incompetence and alcoholism.
Is he in the city?
Yes, he can't. He's not financially able to afford to get back to England yet.
What a tragedy. Where may we find him?
Finding him, you might check with the British or German, or I'm sorry, not German, Dutch consulate.
Is it the embassy?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of a man named El Said? Tufik.
I also could look into Jan Willen and see if I can find more information for him, and find out where he's in town. It might take a day or two.
That would work. Can we reach you here, this building?
Absolutely, I can catch you at your hotel.
No.
Oh, okay. Busy travelers, I assume.
Yes, we're generally out.
Okay.
If we could just reach you here by
Absolutely. I would say by the 19th or the 20th, I should have something for sure. You can always send a runner.
All right.
If I have something, you can stop by personally, but if not, I understand.
All right. Can you tell us anything about the whereabouts of the actual Clyde members? Like where they?
They don't come into town very often, and when they do, it's usually they have apartments here in town, in the city, and then they visit the restaurants and the places they like that. They've been known to hit a few parties, but not in a very ostentatious way like the Carlisle.
Do they have any? Supply shops on retainer, essentially.
I'm sure they do. I can find that information out as well. Okay. Anything else?
One last psychology roll.
Sure. To see.
I pass. I'm trying to see, is he just being like, yeah, sure, I'll check that stuff out, or is there anything?
He's actually being genuinely helpful. Like he enjoys talking to Europeans, and this could turn into a story somehow. You can make money off of this in some shape.
So, at a certain point when he seems like he's being like helpful, back off, obviously.
Yeah, he's just generally being helpful. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to give him. What's your cut like 50 pounds.
Great. That's a chunk. Yeah.
Yeah. And just be like, for your time and expenses.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Very generous. Yeah. It's nice to have patrons with such compassionate wallets.
It's a discretionary fund. Heavily on the discretion.
I completely understand. So, if there's nothing else.
No, that should do it.
Okay. Yeah. Walks you out, and where are you guys headed now?
Make a poster that says Egypt's most wanted.
Wait, what, the museum was the other place?
Yeah.
Do I know that you are Grave Robber?
No, I don't think I explained to you about fully a character. I've made it clear that he's got some pretty active fingers.
When we were talking about the artifact of the mosque, I basically stated he needs to tell me what it is and I'll try to acquire it. Before I found out there were 5 armed supernatural guards that were cutting down.
He's a second story man.
Yeah, would there be, which is fine, I relate to that. But, yeah, would you, again, doing this out of character, would you know anybody who might be a useful contact who might have stolen this mummy or who knows people, fences or stuff like that would be aware of the people who might be doing this kind of stuff? Underworld chatter.
Fence that I knew we already talked to once.
You have other contacts, you really do.
Okay.
He was your Cthulhu Mythos sense.
True.
And also out of character, they're taking the canopic jars so they can put the organs back into this mummy, right? That's what I'm thinking. Certainly.
Yeah.
So they lost.
Right.
You don't need both kidneys.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're in trouble.
One.
Do you have any occult?
I do.
Roll that.
Yeah, actually, I passed that.
It actually could be that, or it could be something where the more they have of the mummy, the stronger the connection could be. So the easier it could be. That makes sense.
But yeah, we could swing by a couple of my contacts.
So where are you guys headed?
The museum for now.
You arrive at the museum, and you mentioned that you spoke with Dr. Ali Kafour before. He's the curator. He's an older gentleman, but he's very helpful. He brings you back to his office, pours you some tea, some good English tea.
Oh, excellent.
What can
Man
I?
of distinction.
What can I do for you, gentlemen? Ma'am?
Well, we're kind of wondering what you can tell us about the Carlisle expedition, what they were doing here.
I believe that the Carlisle expedition uncovered a secret pertaining to the Dark Pharaoh, or the Black Pharaoh. And this discovery somehow led to their slaughter in Kenya. I'm not sure where that connection is, but that's the feeling I get. Sir Aubrey had always been a studier of the Black Pharaoh, and he and I discussed the topic and traded information about that for several years. When he last came to Egypt, Sir Aubrey didn't seek me out like normal, which I found odd, but I visited the expedition dig near Dashur, and Sir Aubrey actually rebuffed me from coming anywhere near it. I recall some marked changes in his physical appearance. He seemed younger, but emotionally he was withdrawn, aloof, and very malicious, curiously. Other than that, I kind of backed off and let them have their time. I figured that perhaps he was having a bad time. No offense, but rich Americans can be, from time to time, very difficult to handle. Yes. So
It's the nouveau riche part of it.
So perhaps it was a bad trip. Perhaps it was a bad time. Perhaps the Americans were getting quote unquote sick and needed time in somewhere else with a cooler climate. Who knows?
And do you know anything about the Clyde expedition that's currently here?
I know that they're maybe the 11th expedition in the last 5 years. I'm familiar with Dr. Clive, but I'm not friends with Dr. Clive. We never had a chance to really get to know each other. There's been a lot of strange deaths surrounding many of the Pinky Foundation expeditions over the last 5 years. Just strange, like a total of 20 deaths among those 11. Just nothing seems to go right.
Do they believe that they are cursed?
I don't know if cursed is the right thing, but right words, but something's clearly amiss.
Anyone else have any questions?
If we wanted to do some follow-up, who would we contact?
About these questions, about these sorts of things?
Yes.
Absolutely contact me anytime you would like.
Are you available to perhaps chaperone us to places of interest regarding this story?
Depends on what exactly it would pertain, but I'm sure that I can find my time to do that.
Is that something we would be interested in?
You could probably shorthand or shortcut this.
Precisely.
It's like they get killed.
That's nice.
Is he still as eager to do it after we say that?
Yeah, when that pours out of Stimpy's mouth over here, what's his reaction?
Well, no,
I'm sure that he didn't say it out loud.
yeah, like that wasn't meant to be like that.
He wrote it on his hand and showed it to me.
Any other questions? Are you familiar with the Dark Pharaoh or the Black Pharaoh? I seem to mention it normally. Europeans find that interesting.
We could always use some more information about it. There's not a lot out there.
At the end of the Third Dynasty, a man named Neferka came to Egypt. He was a powerful sorcerer. He brought madness and death to his enemies at the tip of a finger. Stories say that he came from an ancient city in the deserts of Arabia, whose name was Arim, the city of pillars. This place is mentioned in Al-Azif. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Call of Cthulhu mythos, that it would be the Necronomicon.
Joy.
The Al-Azif.
Al-Azif. A-Z-I-F.
Al-Azif.
All who knew of it held it in dread. He revived the worship of an old foul god, the Black Pharaoh. Soon, Neferin-Ka and the god were interchangeable in the minds of the people, and the sorcerer became known as the Black Pharaoh. No one can distinguish their deeds and legends. For many years, the Black Pharaoh fought with Zozer's successors in the Third Dynasty for control of the land. So great was the power of the Black Pharaoh that no record of them now remain. For a time, Neferin-Ka ruled the Nile and its people. At last, Sneferu rose and founded the Fourth Dynasty. With the aid of the goddess Isis, thwarted the evil magic and slew Neferin-Ka. Remarkably, however, a pyramid was built to contain the sorcerer's body. I would speculate that perhaps insulated Egypt was still potent magic. That this perhaps insulated Egypt from still potent magic within the corpse, but the structure collapsed even while Sneferu was building a second. The collapsed pyramid is at Medium. The second pyramid is the bent pyramid at Dashur. Records imply that the Neferin-Ka's corpse was removed from Medium and placed within the bent pyramid, but exploration of the site has discovered no trace. Another pyramid at Dashur, the Red Pyramid, is also attributed to Sneferu. This pyramid is said to guard Dashur, lest Neferin-Ka rise from the dead. So everybody can give me an idea roll.
Yeah.
I have an idea.
That's
Spot on.
So wow, you guys are full of ideas.
50 out of 50.
So that capstone was from the Red Pyramid. If it was protecting the whole realm, maybe this is the guy to show it to.
Nice.
Oh, I don't have that idea.
They explained the capstone earlier.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, we'll definitely show him the capstone.
Do you have it on us?
I would
assume
you're carrying it with
Yeah, in
you.
our backpack?
So
In the room or not. Duffel bag. She's coming up with ideas.
Well, I mean, it's
they have it in my purse.
it's not a large piece.
Oh, okay.
You
See,
show
I thought it was.
No, you show it to him. This seems to be the capstone from the Red Pyramid. Where did you find this? Part of it, at least. Where did you find it?
It was a gift.
It was.
My great Aunt Martha sent it to me.
No, look, some lady in that town gave it to us. I watched that. It was a gift.
Surprisingly, that's one interpretation.
This is part of a protective script. With some research to figure out how to do more of it, I would need to look into that deeper, and I would hopefully be able to give you information on that if you're interested.
Yes.
Neutral protection, good protection,
Good
bad
protection.
Well, before we hand over the capstone, is he being legit? Like psychology roll?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Barely. Got it.
Yeah, he sincerely doesn't want evil.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to hand it over to him and have him be like,
some people do want to.
You know, that you say that now, he doesn't want evil.
Well, the capstone has been missing for 5 years. I'm thinking around the time that the Carlisle expedition was here.
Do you believe the two are connected?
What did that kid
I wouldn't
like?
think Sir Aubrey would never be a part of destroying artifacts like
Is
that.
this a piece of the capstone or the whole capstone? Piece. Okay. Do we know where the rest of the pieces are?
On top of the pyramid.
Oh.
so yeah, we will give it to him.
You will? I can do some research to figure out if I can do the rest of the rune.
So we could theoretically do the rest of the writings on a new capstone. Put that capstone on top of the pyramid.
Only if it were. So let's suppose that this is something that we believe in magic.
Oh, let's assume.
Yes, tell me more.
Yes, let us.
Are you being clearly like sarcastic?
Yeah.
No, I'm like, no, let's assume that we do because we do.
Okay. So assuming that magic exists, there would
I'm being
still
very
be
patronizing. Yeah, let's assume magic is real.
there would still be magic that would need to be placed into this, some sort of power given to activate it.
Okay.
So that would be something we would have to do. I have a feeling that you gentlemen might have some idea of what to do there.
We could facilitate.
So that would be. This is something we could work on, but I don't know that it will be. I don't know without the proper workings that it will work.
If you can provide us with the artifice, we can provide the functionality.
How soon do you think it will be?
You're just a filthy whore that wants to learn another new spell. I don't know what you're talking about.
The research for this might take days, maybe longer.
You can get it done under 9?
5.
Is it 5
Yeah,
now?
always hedge your bet.
Right.
Sorry, I can't guarantee anything. It's a matter of
Could
finding.
you get it done within a couple days of the full moon?
I can't guarantee anything. It would be about finding everything I need.
Well, if we can be of any assistance in that, all you have to do is ask.
Perhaps spending some time here with me doing some research would be helpful. And anyone else that might be used to a library and how to utilize its function.
Could this perhaps be an issue that we could throw money
I
at?
can
I'm
help
not
that.
going to let you anywhere near rare books.
Money doesn't actually create time.
I'm staying.
You have your library use?
Yeah, I got it.
Well,
but medical school, I assume you use a library. Yeah.
I understand that money cannot create time. However, money can purchase the time of others who might be skilled with this type of research.
And those people already work for me.
Fair enough. I merely wish to ask.
Perhaps pulling someone from the Clive expedition would help.
That would be.
We would prefer they not be involved in any way, shape, or
To
form.
bother them.
Yes, we don't want them to know.
I had heard that Egbert Gavigan was in the country.
Not anymore,
Oh, has he gone home?
perhaps. Or in a manner of speaking.
Then I will get started on this immediately. Perhaps, Professor, you could stop by and work on it with me.
Of course.
Excellent. Wow, I gotta go back all the way. There we go. So let's back to the Black Pharaoh. Upon his triumphs, Neferu ordered all traces of the Black Pharaoh stricken from the land. Nevertheless, there's always worshippers of Black Pharaoh. Even now, there are worshippers of Black Pharaoh.
Is this a common... Is the occurrence of the worship of something like the Black Pharaoh something that would be out in the open? I mean, as much as things of this nature are.
Out in the physical open, yes, maybe. But away from towns and such, that would be where you would find it. Surprisingly, in the 6th dynasty, the cruel queen Nitocris, actually in league with a new cult of the Black Pharaoh, kind of grabbed hold of the country again. But it was quickly stamped out. I don't know if this means anything to you, but the Black Pharaoh is also sometimes called by the name Nyarlathotep. Does that ring any bells?
Twitch.
Frank and the captain both start like.
I sit my teeth.
So Neferka was also said to possess a huge beast, of which the Sphinx at Giza is but a small and accurate representation, though something that large would be hard to imagine.
With several heads, no doubt.
Yes.
Of varying sizes.
The voice of Neferka is said to have been carried throughout the land within a black wind, a wind which destroyed at whim.
Through a tree with a tentacle.
Oh, okay. Remember, there's a mountain of the black wind as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
A prophecy implies that the Black Pharaoh will arise fingers and toes after the great good one. which
10 months.
anyone
Oh, yeah. Okay.
with archaeology or we'll do archaeology.
With actual fingers and toes.
Yes.
That would mean something along the lines of 20 centuries after Jesus. So depending on
What
your
calendar?
It could be like 9 months or 8 months in the day.
a new age should then begin, destined to bring the end of dominance of mankind upon the earth, and bring freedom and stark truth to the Black Pharaoh's followers. Man-like beasts, but inhuman worshippers of Black Pharaoh were said to lurk underground in the deserts. And the Great Sphinx at Giza is said to have incorporated important functions in the hideous rituals held by Nitocris. I
just love Egypt.
think that perhaps Black Pharaoh and Nefertari actually existed, but I don't know about this whole pantheon of gods.
Well, let me tell you a story.
Well,
Maybe
since
not
they
right
have
now.
one.
I would call that pantheon of gods the elder gods, and I believe they're led by a demon sultan named Azathoth. But
And what is this?
I
Niara
warn
or
you.
whatever.
Right, he is supposedly but a messenger. I have seen things in the desert before.
Do you know anything about a group called the Nuns?
More notes.
The Nodens, that's a good question. If the Great Old Ones are an evil, nefarious, and dangerous pantheon, the Nodens are as close to benevolent as a being so beyond us could get.
In specific, I'm trying to describe the guy like on a chariot pulled by goats.
Nodens, that is Nodens. Nodens is not plural. Nodens is the name of it.
Nodens is the dude.
Oh, okay.
Nitocris, is there any mention of clothing?
Of what? Clothing?
Items of power she may have possessed.
Yeah, there's always the girdle this, headpiece that, scepter this.
Headpiece and scepter, you say?
Yes. Nothing about a girdle, though. You're not concerned about the girdle?
In town?
It's all myth and rumor.
Oh, but humor us. What were these guys said to do?
Most pharaoh are, and others like Nitocris are, they're believed to leave back behind these artifacts of great power, especially if there's magic associated. So in those cases, there's always rumor about. I've never seen nor heard of an actual sampling of this or an actual item, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. Perhaps they were found they could be found in a pyramid.
Well,
And perhaps that's what the Clive expedition is still looking for, since this female mummy of theirs went missing.
Are you still wearing your pith helmet?
well, would you be interested in one of the more recent rumors we have heard?
Absolutely.
Wait, would I?
I'm like, what? Yeah, like you just like turn an eyeball and be like, what?
Do we share?
Just depending on what you're willing to do. We're not saying dick about the girdle.
Well, I would be interested to see if there were perhaps raids by these followers on any of the areas in town with an attempt to follow up on the rumors that you suggest.
Actually, Professor, if you would like to help me, I know there's at least one book I would venture has information perhaps about the Black Pharaoh and maybe entice this
What would be the title of this book?
capstone, but I would suggest it would be called the Necronomicon if you are versed in.
You don't have that one.
You won't have it at all. If you are versed in Arabic, that is the only.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Then perhaps if you would like to start cycling through that.
Do you have a copy on hand?
I do.
The cult guy rolled on this?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
No, you know what? No, you don't need
Can
to.
I get a little?
The Necronomicon is literally like the book. Everything you know about it, you kind of know.
Side question for Scott who's not done the Cthulhu before. One of the golden rules, tee hee ha ha, is never read books that open portals to hell.
This
The
one doesn't-
Necronomicon would be like the book, right?
This doesn't open portals to hell, but this is like, so the other books give you like, oh, this one gives you 5, this one gives you 10. I believe the Necronomicon starts at like 20-ish, and like, it is literally like, this man named Al-Azif, spoke to someone who gave him all of this information, and it's all bad.
Nice.
It's not necessarily like a how-to book, like in terms of the nitty-gritty, but it's like Encyclopedia Britannica or Cthulhuoid stuff, where it's like, if you want to know basic knowledge about most of the stuff, this is where you go.
Great.
There aren't that many copies in the world, right?
There's probably 36, like one's at Miskatonic U.
Yeah.
Right.
It's suggestion that there might be one at Harvard and maybe one at Oxford, maybe. But like, you're not going to find these many places, and the fact that it's in the museum makes sense. But here we go.
I look over, is Wentworth openly slavering at this point?
No, actually, I'm very apprehensive.
So,
Excellent.
The
What happened when you
Necronomicon.
read it on what's that?
So, and this would be the original Al-Azif, which is really important because there are 5 versions, and this is the early one.
This is a signed copy.
Kind of.
First edition.
It's
Limited
gonna give
release.
you 18 percentile on Cthulhu knowledge.
Like, you read it and you get your 18, thanks for
I
signing
would
up.
like to read this with you. With
No,
what I've seen,
no.
I want to know what I'm fighting.
No.
I will be with you the whole time. I will not even try to steal this
Frank,
book.
it's
I
great
have
that you
no
want to,
interest.
but you're not gonna.
I need this information.
It's going to contain a slew of spells.
And they're probably all gonna be stuff like just sacrifice a human being. And
For
then you can do
instance,
this.
there's as many lines of spells as there are lines explaining what the book is.
Awesome. Yay!
I don't suggest any of this.
I'm now actually happy that I haven't managed to learn crap from all the other books.
I really would the curator. I would really like. This is not something I would suggest anyone read. I have paged through it. I have not read it fully. It's quite disturbing.
So I've come across books like that before.
Yes.
So you've skimmed the book at least.
Yes.
That's helped me. He's not astray.
Yeah, that he's not the same. Well, you've paged through this Necronomicon then,
Yes.
and your thoughts on its contents?
There's information there.
But isn't the
Well, we're not disputing that there
isn't
is.
like the authentic Necronomicon supposed to be like human skin or something like that?
Made in the 12th century. Okay, so original form is unknown, but numerous manuscript versions were long circulated between medieval scholars. It was actually written in 730 AD. It is an immense compendium touching on nearly every aspect of the mythos, capable reference on most subjects, including charts and star maps. Nothing about human skin, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Alright.
We found the Lesser Tour Guide bound in demon skin. Well, I don't know.
I'm assuming this book is no more.
Well, no, I was going to say,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the contents?
It's
Good? Bad? Abominable evil?
I found that forewarned is forearmed normally. However, forewarned is often dangerous in this sense.
So this is not something that if you untap secrets that you use them for your own benefit.
I'm not sure what benefit and gain there might be other than protection and knowing my enemy. But knowing my enemy only makes it more dangerous.
Well then,
Is he? I'm gonna try to do this coyly. I'm gonna kind of go once over visually. Is he wearing anything of a defensive nature?
Not that you can tell.
So, I touched on it earlier, and I apologize for my coyness. The garter of the girdle of the nitocris.
Pointed stare. Just like, really?
Well, yes, he doesn't seem to be.
It's not the point.
Are you going to help us with completing this capstone and
I've already
potentially?
said that I would, yes.
Yes.
The captain wants to tell you something, but he doesn't want to shoot you when he tells you something.
It's true.
Well, I would prefer not to be shot as well.
Good. Have any sense of?
Perhaps I should know if shooting might be the end result.
So, the girdle of nitocris is purported to be in the mosque at 1, 2, 3, 4.
The Mosque of Ibn Tulun.
Yes.
And okay,
Didn't know if that would be helpful to you or not.
Assuming Nitocris was a real person,
Yes.
and assuming she was as terrifying as she was, I'm not sure how it helps or hurts because she's dead.
Well, there are a number of cultists who believe that they're going to return her to power, and they're seeking.
There are a number of cultists that believe by chanting on the desert, I'm sure they can raise whatever they want, but this doesn't mean it works.
So,
Now it's your turn, Frank. Go, get him.
you mentioned Dark Pharaoh.
I did.
Do you have a description of what he would look like?
He's dark and pharaoh-like.
More tree-ish with a tentacle for a head.
No, that would be what we call Nyarlathotep.
I believe they're the same.
I believe so as well, but that
Oh
is,
no, I know they're the same.
that is
He's met him. Cough, cough. Sip my tea.
I prefer that you gentlemen leave. I don't appreciate bruises.
No,
No.
in no shape or
I am
form.
in no way lying.
That's where the I might have to shoot you later comes from.
This is not some sophomore joke.
You know of the bent pyramid.
I'm familiar, yes.
You know that
We
there's two.
spoke about it just a few minutes
You
ago.
know there are two entrances into the bent pyramid.
I believe there's been two unopened and uncovered, yes.
The one more sealed contains a large column.
Unguarded.
Yes. Contains a column that leads up to where there are star charts. I'll show him the designs of the star charts and the glyphs that were on the walls.
I've seen similar charts within the Necronomicon. And you found this inside the pyramid?
Yes. There was a chair.
A
That-
gilded throne, if you will.
Yes. It was very compelling to set upon it. One of us finally did set upon it.
Yes, one of us.
And
that's-
two of your party is totally insane now and shipped back to the States.
Yes.
No.
For what they've seen.
Correction is two of our party. You are in this with us now as well, remember? I did warn you away. I did say get the hell out before it sucks you into the pit of hell. Damn it.
I'm just a tourist.
So this can't cause the insanity of two of your friends.
Unfortunately.
I think that we should get started immediately. It's rumored that the Carlisle expedition disappeared after entering the Great Pyramid. I've always taken that kind of as with a grain of salt, but if that's the case, then perhaps this is the room they went to.
Frank seems to think that they died.
And perhaps
Oh, yes. There was a vision the Dark Pharaoh gave me of the Carlisle expedition being ripped to shreds by these formless worms with teeth around them, and I will describe everything. The bats that flew in from the sky.
those things that you discussed that flying are called haunting horrors. And the creatures from below are called Chthonians.
Argonians.
Yes, their skin, and he starts describing like them in both of them in detail, and then suddenly, Scott,
Yes, you flashback.
you go flashback to cutting the skin off of a book.
Oh no! Oh, ew, now I feel filthy. Oh,
Give me a sanity check.
oh, dear God!
Let's see what happens.
Oh, that's horrible. No,
And that'll do us tonight.
I hate you.
We will talk to you guys in a week.
This has been a production of the Omega Nerds Network, the network where it's on.